Welcome to Two Therapists Talking. The hope for this podcast is to talk about important issues related to couples and individuals who are struggling in their lives with many different issues. I'm David Thompson, a marriage and family therapist.
And I'm Sherie Christensen, marriage and family therapist. Please join us as we explore these issues together, and we hope you will learn and be enlightened along the way. Come find us at twotherapisttalking.com. If you like what you're hearing, please get on and rate us and subscribe to the podcast.
Welcome back to Two Therapists Talking. I'm David.
And I'm Sherie.
And we are continuing in our victimhood series of episodes here. And we've turned the corner. We've talked a lot about what it is, mostly how you can tell if you are in it.
Right.
Because
Which
it's
is
very
again a
subtle.
grayscale.
Yeah, it is a scale for sure.
Probably parts of you are in it, maybe parts of you are not.
And totally normal, by the way, right, to have times where
Yes.
you are really in it because you are, like we've said, a victim.
Right.
It's the victimhood, getting stuck in it,
Right.
that we're so focused on, but hard and sad that you were in this position in the first place.
For sure.
So we want to adjust now into how to overcome or how to come out or how to make progress with it.
Yes. I love this shift. We do need to do all of the prep work on looking at all it's just, there's always these nuances and these little pieces that we want to make sure that we're addressing and stuff. But I love that we're moving into this. Okay, now what? So I'm noticing that, if we're looking at parts work, right? I'm noticing a part of me is feeling like this. Or, man, I just jumped into this like full bore. Like I am just dove right into this victimhood space in this specific area of my life or in all areas of my life. Now what? Now what?
Yeah.
And again, I love what David's saying, like, yep, this happens. This is not a reflection on your worth or anything like that. So now, what do we do?
What do we do? And it's a beautiful idea that you are more powerful than you feel, even if that's kept you feeling safe. There's even still more power beyond just feeling safe.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what coming out of this means. So.
And I love, that we can think that victimhood is providing safety, right? But it's not. And the idea that the safety that it's providing is this sort of powerful idea that I can do whatever, and the motivation is for that is external, right? Like, well, I did that because they did this to me,
right,
or this happened to me, and so it's a way of almost justifying our choices. And the power then is that I never have to take accountability for my choices if I've always put it out there. And unfortunately, that isn't as powerful as it feels, right?
Right.
Because it just leads to a destruction of relationship and a destruction of our own ability to choose and be a powerful agent in our own lives.
Yeah, and you end up regretting it because you look back and you can see how you abandoned your values and how you want to show up and how you want to treat others, and you have a sense of regret and remorse. And it's almost, it happens a lot where because we're hurting, this sort of two wrongs make a right mentality.
Right.
What I see a lot, I'm sure Sherie does too, is he'll act out. There will be sexual addiction, pornography, masturbation, and I will, because I'm hurting, withdraw and withhold love and affection. And it makes sense because you're hurting, but then what happens is everybody's in this hurting place, and there's not healing, there's not coming together, and even when real effort is made, you can still feel like this is where I'm best, this is where I'm safest, this is where I need to be. And I'll have lots and lots and lots of couples where the offender has done very well for a very long time, and they're kind of like in the same place as when this all started.
as a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite lots of effort and lots of change, then it's like, well, okay, sure, you're sober, but I don't know if I can ever risk, being close again. You're going to hurt me. It's like, that feels safe, but if we stay there, what happens? Where can we go? We're not vulnerable. We're not, there's no bids for connection. Where do we go from there? And the other person, they're hurting because they don't feel loved. They don't feel important. And so,
yes.
Tempting, no doubt. And it makes sense, but two wrongs do not make a right.
Right.
With boundaries and staying healthy in good ways, though. I know
Right.
this can sound like maybe it just doesn't matter what happened at all. And that's the balance we're trying to find, because I don't want that message to come across.
For sure. It's such a fascinating fine line. And again, I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important that you're working through these issues with a therapist there, or with a therapist yourself as you're trying to navigate, okay, where do I find that line between safety and boundaries, which are really, really critical, and being open to opening some space to continue the relationship, to heal the relationship, to grow the relationship. And it's a very hard balance sometimes to figure out how much do I open myself up if this has been my past experience, And so navigating that with a therapist, I think, is really important. But if we're staying in victimhood, right? If we've been a victim, we've had to set really strong boundaries for safety. Just like David's saying, if we stay there for forever, nothing will happen in the relationship. There will be no growth. There will be no progress. There will be no mark that can be reached that will create safety. At some point when we've created these boundaries, we create this safety, and then they're making movement and change, then at some point we have to vulnerably open a little bit of space and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
And the other person should absolutely be learning a lot. I mean, they're listening to these podcast episodes, which
hopefully
almost makes them an expert, right? They should be learning how to have empathy, and you're risking a little bit. That's the put your finger in analogy and see what happens. And if they're understanding and they care, it's like, okay, we can do this. Here's my hand. Here's my forearm.
Yes.
Just little by little as they demonstrate that they can take care of you. And so
they can show up for you.
Yeah. So I love this idea. We've talked about this too, moving from victim to survivor to creator. We're not done with survivor. Okay, I've kind of gotten through and I'm holding my own. No, we want to keep going all the way to creator.
Yes.
Well, creator of what? What are we talking about?
Our best selves, our 2.0, and the possibility for close relationships. Yeah. I love this, and I love one of the pieces that has to come with that is the concept that it doesn't, anything that happens to you, whether good or bad, right, which means all of the bad that's happened to you, right, all of those have seeds or meaning, purpose, like the beginnings of some purpose or meaning. There's always purpose and meaning in anything that happens to you. It can all show up for good in your life. Right?
Yep.
And people think, well, sometimes people say, I don't know about that. And
well, especially when you're in it, right?
Yes.
For sure.
When you're in it, it can be tricky. But when we can start to see those things and create that meaning, that propels us forward into this creator space in an incredibly powerful way.
Yep. I've started listening to a book called The Choice by Edith Eger.
Oh, I'm so glad you're reading that now.
It's really good.
Love it. And so powerful.
She knows something about adversity and going through things. And so I love hearing what I would consider kind of an authority on it.
Right.
Share that we have a choice.
Yes.
And she words it way better than I ever could. But
right.
along these lines of overcoming victimhood, that's a book you may want to consider.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Just to give you that little bug in your ear, she was a victim of the concentration camps, right? And has come out of that learning that we do have a choice in how we move forward and how we become creators in our life and don't get stuck in victimhood. It is a spectacular book. It is one of my favorite books of all time. It is incredible. So, which actually I found it on David's shelf, but he hadn't read it yet. And then I read it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to read this book that's on your shelf.
It's funny because I felt totally inspired. Last week, I was leaving one night and I was halfway to my door and I stopped and turned around and looked straight at that book. And it's on my shelf, but I haven't read it and I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
And I just went right to that book and I was like, I need to read this.
Yeah.
So.
And it's perfect timing with what we're talking about on these episodes. So highly, highly, highly recommend. One of the best books I've ever read. But very much, right, this concept. And along with this book, right, I am not a stranger to some really challenging experiences, right? I think we all have challenging experiences. I've definitely gone through quite a number of really challenging ones, and it's a game changer, and it is a life-saving experience to choose, and to choose to find the positive, to choose to find the meaning. It can literally be a lifesaver. I've seen that over and over again in some of the various things challenging circumstances that I've faced in my life. And it is definitely a game changer, and you can have peace and grounding and creativity and moving forward no matter how painful or how challenging or how awful the circumstances. And I think we've talked before, I've mentioned before, those times in your life when you can't understand how you continue to exist because you're going through so much pain, and how life continues to move forward even though you're in so much pain. These kinds of moments where you can step up and choose your life and choose your healing and choose not to go into and stay in a space of victimhood are everything. Allows you to create a beautiful life for yourself regardless of anything that's happened. I've had personally many people that will understand kind of what's going on or what has happened in my life and say, I do not, how are you able to do this? Or how are you able to be positive? How are you even smiling? And it's because of this concept right here. It's because of choosing. It's because of deciding for myself to create positive meaning out of my experiences and to take that and move it forward into building the life that I want. It's so powerful.
I think that's the best 3 or 4 minutes in our entire podcast series right there. You should probably hit that back 30 seconds button a couple of times and get back to the beginning of this and just listen again. Because I could not agree more with Sherie, and she's exactly right. Think about how we have lost the freedom of being able to just make that choice, feeling like we don't have a choice. We do have a choice. We always have a choice.
Yes.
And it's not based on our circumstances.
Yes.
Or situations. But it feels like it is, but it's really not. So just take that last couple minutes and just listen to it over and over, because that's beautiful. I don't know how to add anything to that. That was great.
Yeah. We talk a lot about about hard things that happen and wanting to be able to share more details about that. And anyway, but just know that we've been there, faced some pretty intense things, and I promise you this is the way out. This is the way to have a fulfilling and amazing and incredible life, no matter the circumstances.
Right. Thank you for sharing, Sherie.
I love this that David has said. It's this will be the very thing that causes you to level up and see things in a wiser and more experienced way.
It really is. And this concept for me personally, just of opposition in all things. And I kind of thought of it as like, well, there is opposition in all things, but now I've come to see it as without both, you don't know. But we need to know. So it's not a matter of trying to avoid the one side and only be in the other side. You don't know the other side without the heavy, without the hard.
Yes.
So we've talked about this concept before, but not being afraid of pain and suffering, that's different from creating it, okay?
Right.
We're not
Inviting
saying,
it into your life.
Invite
Please.
it in. No. But we're not afraid of it because we believe and have experienced that it's the pain and suffering that creates the love and the meaning and the purpose and the empathy and the compassion and the wisdom and all of it.
Yes.
So then how do we enjoy and value the good, but try to avoid as best we can all the bad and get angry
And the
at it and
responsibility
resentful
for the
and
bad.
right.
Yes,
How do you do
yes.
both of those? I
Yeah,
think you
you
enjoy
can.
the good and you accept the bad.
Yes.
You don't go looking for it, but you accept
surrender
it.
into
you
it.
surrender to it. Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
So powerful.
So the idea here, just to review, because I think that this is maybe one of the most important things we can talk about, and I love how this episode has gone.
Yeah.
I was thinking of covering a little more information, but I just love how this has gone. And so the idea is that we have a choice, no matter what has happened to us, no matter what the circumstances, and in that choice is the beginning, the seed of purpose and meaning, and really how we overcome whatever is hard in our lives. And not only overcome, but triumph in the sense that we're more loving, we're more helpful, we make an impact positively in the lives of others that we would not have made were it not for the hard things that we've been through. I mean,
Yeah.
again, that book, The Choice, if you go through that book, it has been an absolute inspiration, and it would not have been that way had she not gone through what she did.
Right.
And it breaks your heart to learn about what she went through,
Yes.
but then you see just how strong she is. And she has these seminars, and at the end of them all,
Insights
they
and-
dance, and everybody in the audience dances. And it's like, Kate, look at all of the good that's come from so much hard.
Yeah.
And-
Yes. There's an understanding and an empathy and a compassion that you develop. And
That we need. And if
And
nobody
love.
has that, what do we do when we're suffering and when we're hurting
Right.
and we're lost?
Yes.
And nobody can comfort and nobody can nurture? Where would we be?
right.
We'd be in trouble. So,
Yeah. The choice is to create a meaning that allows you to move into this space of your best self. It's a choice to accept, to surrender, to the fact that things happen, and then create a meaning that allows you to rise,
yeah.
that allows you to become, and allows you to influence the world for good, to influence your own life for good, to be your best self and have this incredible life, right? Regardless of the choices of other people.
Yeah, I love it. It's just a total recognition of who you really are, like your real self. Like you are, you will outlast everything you think you know. All these mountains, everything will turn to dust, and you will remain.
Yes.
And it's what you're built for. It's just a beautiful, empowering concept that hopefully you consider
Yeah.
and think about.
Yes. Yes. Which is not possible with the powerless pieces that come from victimhood.
Right.
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 We do have things that happen to us. We've been victimized. There is a sense of powerlessness that comes from that experience of all of a sudden, bad things happen and we weren't expecting that. And then we move into a place of, yes, that's happened. Okay, now I'm surviving. Now I'm creating.
Yeah.
And we can jump to that instantly if we choose to. We can jump to that space of creating meaning, of recognizing the benefit that this is going to have in my life. And maybe I don't know where I'm going to use it or how it's going to totally change me, but this is going to create something amazing in my life. And I am going to become this incredible person because of what I've experienced.
So just think on all this. More to come.
Yes. I'm
But
just
we
yes,
like where this is at. Yeah.
You're right. It fills you with this empowered space.
Yep. You know it's true because of how you feel when you think about it.
Yeah.
And it's an upward movement.
Yeah.
There's no denying.
Yeah.
So.
And I think sometimes, again, remember, this isn't circumstance based. So regardless of the choices of someone else, they may choose to not engage with you in this space. Right. They may choose to not make healthy choices that allow a relationship to continue or a relationship to thrive. They may not make choices that allow you to continue to want to be around them, right? Or may make choices that may hurt you continually, right? And so then you choose what you're going to do with that, right?
Right.
Step out of that space of victimhood into the space of thriving, creating the life that you want. And if they don't want those same things, then you can choose.
Right.
What am I going to do and how am I going to be?
Yep.
And as we clear out space where things aren't positive, where either we're in victimhood or things are not moving forward, it allows for space for things to move forward.
Yeah.
So as long as we're not holding on too tightly to victimhood patterns or to other unhealthy, like I want things to be this way, but somebody else has to be a certain way for that to work, right? That's okay. Let it go. Let them figure out their own life. You don't have to be a victim stuck in where they are coming from and whether or not they're willing to move on. You can let that go and choose to find your own power and your own creation moving forward. Okay, we're going to talk about how next time. So we'll see you then.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for listening to Two Therapists Talking. We look forward to sharing more conversations with you. Connect with us at twotherapisttalking.com or email podcast@twotherapisttalking.com. If you like what you're hearing, please get on and rate us and subscribe to the podcast.